That's fair.
So my name is Hassan. I'm a PC modder. You can probably see this PC in the BYOC here at PAX. This is a build I did for EVGA. I run a company called V1 Tech where I help first-time builders try to create stuff like I can without the experience or the machinery. That's at v1tech.com. Plug. And then to my right is Matthew.
I run a YouTube channel called Son of a Tech. It started out as PC gaming, and then I'm now the reason there's no graphics cards in stock. So it shifted into cryptocurrency mining. We do a lot of the open air. That's me. So
he's at the Hyatt, room 622.
So hopefully I make it out of here alive. But
there are no guards at his hotel.
I'm Cameron Watkins. I'm a modder, mostly found on forums or r/water cooling, some of that stuff. Yeah, I basically just make cases and do case mods and take them to competitions and stuff.
He does some of the craziest scratch builds you'll ever see. They're not in cases. They're all pretty unique. You got to check them out.
I did have live fish in the computer I took to drink last year. I'm not doing a computer like that again because transporting fish from Dallas to Austin and keeping them alive was hard.
Was it because animals were hurt in the process?
Yeah, the only fish that were casualties of that got sucked into the filter, and I fixed that.
I hope he does not hear.
The second trip that case took, all of the fish survived the drive, the weekend, and came back alive, and they survived for several months after that, and then I'm not the good fish owner. But I still have fish, so that's fair.
Are they alive?
Yeah, they're alive.
Okay.
I've got some tetras in the beta, so yeah.
All I know about beta is they attack Windows. So I'm Joe Mercado. I'd explain my modding contribution. I make cables look pretty. That's about it, and I enjoy it for some reason. Some of my work's been on Jay's 2 Cents. Most of y'all might know who he is, and that doesn't work for Xforma. But yeah, I run Sanctum. Now Sanctum Studios was Sanctum Sleeving, but yeah, that's my contribution.
And I do everything I can to not touch custom cables.
Because you have a soul.
It's tedious and difficult. Yeah, this is
So this is the fish tank PC.
Yeah, this is the build log for the fish tank computer.
You can find this on CoolerMaster's forum.
Yeah. You can also, PC Gamer did a video.
Hassan, not that fast, they can't see.
Oh, am I going too fast?
Yeah, that case was actually made out of wood, and I found some display cases online that were cylinders, and I made the fish tank out of that with acrylic glue. So it just goes to show, like, it's wood, and it's acrylic display cases, and it turned into a fish tank. So it doesn't take a lot to get going. I did have the ability to use a laser cutter. That helps a lot if you have like a local makerspace or something. But honestly, you could have done it with a drill and a jigsaw. That would have done everything because it was circles and screw holes and most of that, and then a drill. But yeah, don't think you have to have fancy tools and stuff. If you have a way to cut wood or acrylic and drill some holes, you could do a lot.
Probably keep off this page, actually.
I don't know what happened to all those CPUs.
Okay, so I guess I'll talk about some of my projects. I did this project right here for ASUS. Oh. That's a dinosaur. We're out of time. Thanks for coming.
Great webpage.
Okay, I'm going to go to, here's some of Joe's sleeving.
That's good meme.
So
Go ahead and click the meme.
that's how I feel when I see Joe sleeving.
It completely disconnected from the Wi-Fi.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, you have to don't reconnect to the bottom corner.
Okay.
You may have network connectivity problems.
Yeah, so we plan to have a little bit better of a PowerPoint, and then with internet issues and PowerPoint deciding to crap all over itself,
This right internet.
we ended up having to go a different route, but I'll do the free.
Which one's that?
Well, apparently it's gone.
give up.
Okay, so here's some of the stuff that we make. This is a cryptocurrency case, but don't mind it too much. These are GPU backplates for your graphics cards. We make them for every model under the sun. We have a wide variety of designs. Part of our innovation is using our configurator. It talks to our backend at the warehouse, actually assembles your colors and your GPU models, creates a file, and then cuts it. That way we can turn around custom one-off art pieces at a mass-produced level.
So it goes to show that there are companies out there that have pieces that can help you. For Hassan's case, if you want, custom fan grills, backplates, all that stuff, it's something that you can do really simply and just kind of order it. If you want to do like a vertical GPU mount, there are companies that make kits for that. And installing the kit, it's like a little $20 bracket or something. You drill, I think it's 5 holes and cut a slit, and you can install a vertical GPU. Instead of trying to figure out how to engineer your own way to mount it and stuff, there are companies out there. I think that one's made, I don't think that one's from Modders Inc. Do you know who makes that one?
Which one?
It's the vertical GPU.
That's MNPC Tech.
Yeah, MNPC Tech. There's Modders Inc.'s got a lot of resources and tools. V1 Tech, obviously.
So we didn't really have much planned in terms of what we were going to talk about. We actually just want to introduce ourselves and then go to Q&A. So I think we're pretty much ready for that.
Yeah. Does anyone have any specific questions, like favorite tools used, questions about water cooling, questions about favorite mods or anything? We actually have a microphone up in the center.
You with the hand.
Line up and come to the microphone.
I'm stuck in there, but I'll just ask from here. When it comes to power supplies, where do you recommend modular or semi-modular, which is like half and half, or just the normal cabled power supplies?
I believe we have an expert on cables and power supplies.
No, for me, I use modular for everything. It's just easier, much cleaner solution. I'll say this, if you do we call it hardwire, where the wires are still connected to the power supply, that gives you a better, cleaner look because all the wires go inside. You don't actually see any connectors. But it's a pain to actually get that done. You have to open it, pray you don't touch a capacitor. They will unload on you. You will hear weird noises for a few days. You will taste copper. And yeah, I've been there a few times. So modular, way easier, and you get to keep your warranty. That's the good thing is with the modular, you keep your warranty. Once you pop that screw hole on the power supply for the non-modular, your warranty's done, but most of us don't know what a warranty is.
Yeah, I believe Modders Inc.'s slogan is "Void your warranty."
Yeah.
But I also would say modular power supplies are, if you're going to try and make everything look really neat, you cut down on the cable clutter a lot. And if you want cables to be the proper length, say they're too long or too short or whatever, you can either go and make your own sleeving or you can order sleeving from someone. If you don't have a modular power supply and you're wanting to do that, you either have to open it or you have to go with a route where you have like cable extensions or something, which can look great. If you have a power supply shroud and you just want like nice sleeving to be visible, you can totally go with a non-modular power supply and just get extensions. It's a really easy way to do it. But if you're wanting to go like full custom, have your power supply visible and have that level of detail, I would definitely say a modular power supply is what you need.
Yeah, or you can get the extensions. I have the extensions in the mod in BYOC from V1 Tech here.
If you want to save some money, you could get the non-full replacement and then get extensions, but you're probably going to have a big case for that. So you have something like the EVGA DG87 or a 900D or something, that'll probably be fine, but usually full OEM replacements are going to look the best because they're going to be sleeved right from the power supply all the way to your power points.
That also said, if you get extensions, you can reuse them. So if you're like, I only like black and white builds, buy one set of black and white cable extensions and you can use them for the next 30 years.
For a mini ITX case, you're kind of like, you got to go OEM. There's nothing you can, like full modular, because you got to be able to remove every cable that you don't need.
Yeah.
Now the good thing is on the fully modular, a lot of these companies, they use the exact same pinout. So like Corsairs use the same pinout for the last year. So you could buy any power supply from them as long as it was that generation and later, same thing. So if you bought one, it went belly up, you can buy another one, plug it in, it works fine.
but you can't mix and match OEMs. So don't take Corsair cables, try to make it work on an EVGA. It won't work.
Yeah, that's not one good thing with that attitude, because if you try it, either the Legos aren't going to fit in the right spot, or magic smoke will come out, and your room will smell like an Autobot fart.
All right, next question. Guy in the back.
So in regards to base parts, what are the best quality base parts that you can use when starting out? That way you're not just grabbing like crap parts off the bat and then having to replace things because they broke.
Do you mean like tools, or do you mean like?
No, like stuff that you use inside your case. Like what are the best like
Components?
For example, cases. I'm just like throwing out a manufacturer, like stuff like that. Like what are the best base parts or the things that you would put into the case for that sort of thing?
I would say that's mostly budget-based. So if the part usually costs more, it's probably going to be higher components, higher level components, better quality, better built. Stuff that won't change are like the power supply. DDR4 RAM, I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. So the biggest factor on those is like, is it RGB or is it?
Well, speed.
Oh, right. Speed is.
33 is out now. 2666 kind of the standard lowest.
Yeah, but it goes all the way to what, like?
It's going to 4,000.
4,000 megahertz.
As for like brands and stuff on like reliable brands and stuff, every brand has their own OEM where they get their components. Like I don't think EVGA makes their own capacitors and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff out there.
There is variance in that, like. Not to throw EVGA under the bus, but it was last year before they had an issue with their 1070s having a capacitor blowout or something like that. But EVGA is historically known for having great warranties and great products. So it kind of comes and goes, and the best thing you can really do is look at reviews and see if you found someone who has that product and they've had it for a while. And that's probably a better justification of like, oh, this is a good brand, as opposed to like, oh, this guy on Newegg bought the part and wrote a review before he even got it. That doesn't really tell you much, but historically you can normally look at a brand and be like, oh, they've been around, they're a well-known brand, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would look at the warranty support that these companies offer and their customer service more than the other stuff, because 90% of it's made in the same factory in China, whether it's Foxconn or HK Hynix or Micron. It's all just rebranded under all these company names and then designed to have better aesthetics or software functionality and stuff like that. But the hardware, you're usually just paying for the higher the price, the better the quality usually.
Now for me, when I first started, just because I could only afford so many parts at a time, the last thing I did buy was the graphics card, because graphics cards changed so fast. It was ridiculous. By the time I started my build and I bought my graphics card, I would have ended up with a 6800 GT, and I ended up with an 8800 GTS. It took me a while to get that build done. I was poor. I still am poor. Things haven't changed much.
Yeah, also if you're wanting to get into modding and stuff, and you're wanting to try and enter competitions or whatever, or just make a really pretty computer, you don't have to have the highest end stuff. I've definitely taken a build to a competition with RX 480s after Vega's release, just because I didn't have a way to get them. And I've definitely taken a build somewhere where I had a Pentium in the thing, just because like I didn't have an i7 that I could take with me. So I was like, yeah, it's a Z97 motherboard with the Pentium 20th anniversary. So they're not judging you on hardware. Like if you're wanting to make something really pretty and make it an art piece, like that's what you're going for. You're going for like the aesthetic. You've got a theme. You're trying to make it look really clean. You're trying to make it your own. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with the hardware that's in it, because you can do whatever you want. And if you're afraid of like breaking something, like say you're like, oh, I need to make this graphics card a single slot, and you have to take like an angle grinder through a DVI plug, don't do it on a Titan minus.
Yeah, pretty much they're not judging you on your parts. Anybody can throw money at a project. If you had the bank account, anybody could get a system with 4 Titans, 10 i7 AMD Quadro, I'm not making sense anymore, cards. If you had an unlimited budget, anybody could put together the fastest PC in the world, but not everybody can make a mod. That mod is special to whoever is behind the tools. And that's what they're looking at. They could care less about hardware. Like I said, you can throw a Pentium in there. This year I'm building a system from 2004 into a mod. Like all the components are stuff that was available in 2004. It's not going to win any benchmarks. If it does, we really haven't come a far way. But just to show you that they're looking for the art, they're not looking for the power.
Some of the most impressive mods I've actually seen done were people who had very little budget to play with it, and like saw a guy post recently on Reddit, bought a whole bunch of like really strange water cooling parts I had never seen before, built his own case out of acrylic, and it was one of the most beautiful builds I've ever seen. And looking at the parts, I was like, I don't recognize any of these. So, I mean, make it your own. You don't have to have the expensive hardware, but if you want to use it, I mean, get what you want, because it's also your computer.
Good question.
Guy on the right.
What's the most expensive mod that you wrote?
So, for me, I haven't killed that many pieces of hardware, but I recently set a Z270 Strix ITX board on an Allen wrench and turned it on. I was changing out a water block and I had Allen wrench on the table because I was like messing with the cooler on it, set it back down, plugged it in, running it off the box as a test bench, and just, you can see the singe marks on the back of the board. So yeah, that wasn't fun for me. I had to buy that friend a new motherboard.
Messed up delidding an i7-3770K and scratched the PCB all up because I didn't know. It was my first time trying to delid, so lost an i7 in that one. Probably my worst.
I was doing a mod for Corsair. It was with Joe actually, and the mod wasn't with him, but he did a mod for them at the same time. But it was shipping to Computex, I believe.
Yeah.
And mine was a Rocket League theme. I had the whole thing painted, everything lit up, everything good to go. And I realized that there was nowhere to put the 8-pin, and this had to ship in like the next hour. I had everything in there, water cooled, and I took a drill to the top right of the case, accidentally nicked the motherboard, and didn't post after that. So I shipped it to Computex, and they had to actually get a board there and have a modder on site swap it out. But that was probably one of my worst.
That's what we call a brown pants moment. I haven't really blown up any hardware. The worst I've ever done was super glue my arm to the table. And I was stuck there for 5 hours until a nice little lady with a dog came by and passed me my acetone.
What about injuries? I think that's another good one.
Oh, that list is really high. Really high. I shouldn't be allowed power tools, to be honest. And yet I have a CNC laser and 3D printers. The 3D printers, okay, no, that one has caused me harm. Never mind. Hassan put me on the spot. Safety is important. Do as I say, not as I've done many times. No, always, safety is like the first thing you should get when it comes to modding. Get a face respirator, so if you're painting or you're working on cutting stuff, you don't want that dust in your lungs. When I was 16, that's when I started modding, and I remember spraying this case just black. And I don't know how many cans of spray paint I went through. Enough to make my dad mad because it was his paint. But I remember I was taking a shower, getting all the paint off me, and I sneezed, and it was just black that came out, and I freaked out. I thought I was becoming a xenomorph. Yeah, so that was how I learned to always use a respirator. Clamps are also very important when you're cutting or you're drilling into something. I was drilling into a panel with a fatter bit, and as I was drilling down, the drill caught the material and spun it around and actually put a nice slice into my belly. Yeah, that was not fun. And having a Mexican mother was not fun either because she freaked out. And she said I needed stitches. I needed a Band-Aid, that's what I needed. I needed stitches, I needed this, I needed that, you need to call the priest. It was just a mess. Had I just clamped it down, I could have avoided all of that. But you learn as I did not, or as I have now, but just a few seconds precaution. Some things could have ended up much worse. I think the one piece of safety gear I have is a face shield for when cutting a Dremel. I have had a Dremel disc explode when I was cutting something, and the piece actually passed through my hair. That's how close it got. That could have easily been an eye. I'm ugly enough as it is. I don't need help. But yeah, safety's definitely become more apparent now.
I haven't really injured myself much while modding, but there was one instance before QuakeCon where I had to have a mod shown off. I was modding in the hotel room with a heat gun trying to bend PETG tubing. and I was going so fast that the heat gun was sitting in front of me, and I was trying to measure everything, and my arm just hit the top of that heat gun and kind of took some skin off. But I've been pretty safe for the most part. How about you guys?
I've cut myself on acrylic, pulling out a laser cutter, caught a bad edge, sliced the palm of my hand pretty bad, but I mean, just don't be in a hurry. You can usually do things right, do it once, measure twice, cut once. Well, same thing goes for being safe. Do it right. You're probably going to end up with a better product, and you're going to put yourself at less of a risk.
Also, never work tired. I know going through college, I stayed up some nights because I procrastinated and decided to play Overwatch instead of my homework assignments. But don't ever work on a project tired, especially around power tools. I've ruined many pieces just because I was like, I need to get this done tonight, Had I just waited till the next day, I could have probably done the piece in one go and not wasted $40 in carbon fiber sheets.
Anyone else have another question?
Middle right here.
Are there particular materials that you feel are particularly good and bad? For example, are there kinds of plastics that definitely should be not?
PVC.
Yeah, PVC or Perspex scratch really easily. They have chemicals in them. When you burn them, you don't want to smell them. The easiest materials to mod, I would say, from metal is aluminum, just because it's a softer, easier to bend material and easier to cut hole, make mods in. Steel you can still do, but it's going to use a lot more bits and whatnot.
It depends. You also have grades. So inside there, the easiest aluminum for me is 6061. It's aircraft grade. A little more expensive, but it cuts like butter, and it files very easily too. If you need to make complex shapes and you don't have a 3D printer, they are pretty affordable now, but not everybody has one or access to a makerspace. It's a not Warpluck. It's basically like the mats you put on your garage floor. Cosplayers use it to make armor. It's a EVA foam. That's what it is.
The material I like to work with the most is acrylic. The only real problem you have working with acrylic is it's thick, so you're going to generally use 1/4 inch if it's going to be something that's actually like structural. But you can drill it, you can cut it, you can actually heat it up and bend it. So a lot of people will do like mods and they'll make a power supply shroud. You go buy a big sheet of acrylic, cut it to your shape, heat it up, and you can actually bend it, have a nice bend for your power supply shroud. There are lots of tutorials online for that. The only thing you have to worry about with working with acrylic is if you cut it or drill it too quickly, it'll melt. So if you sit there and just drill full speed, you'll realize you've melted your bit into the acrylic, and getting it out is going to be hard. But if you sit there and just go slowly cutting it, it'll be fine, and you can do a lot of things with it. A lot of people buy clear acrylic and then take some vinyl and make like little stencils, put it on the backside of the acrylic, paint it, and then you can peel it off, and you'll end up with parts that are transparent, parts that are painted. You can have cool effects by painting one side and having the other side, and you can see through the material to the other paint. So it's a very versatile material. You can actually see some stuff on Hassan's webpage where you can just, those back plates are 2 layers of acrylic. That one's black with a transparent green, so you can still see the circuitry of it.
Yeah,
you can just do a ton with it. Glue it.
We love to use acrylic because it comes in like 44 different colors. You could get it in different finishes. It comes in metallics, chrome, transparent, UV reactive. You could layer it very easily. You can fuse it with an acrylic glue.
Yeah, the acrylic glue literally melts it and turns it into like a solid acrylic. So when I did the fish tank mod, I actually took the display case and put one inside the other and then glued them together. And that seal was...
I water cooled the floor, don't worry about it.
That seal was literally like solid acrylic, and the bond there is actually as strong as the acrylic itself. So it's really versatile, and you can do a lot with it. You can just order it off Amazon. I needed some gold acrylic for something I'm working on right now. Order a little sheet, 1 foot by 1 foot. Like I can bend this, I can cut it, I can drill it, do whatever I want. And it's like $10 off Amazon, which is kind of expensive for what it was, but
you can
it's
get it
literally
locally,
a mirror fin.
Usually,
so.
I know Delvy's Plastics is a good source for that online.
Yeah.
Check locals.
You could go to Home Depot and grab clear and any spray paint. It's $4. The 2-in-1s from Rust-Oleum are great because they have a primer. It's just 1 coat, 2 coats.
Yeah.
Super easy. Any color you want, you can make it yourself.
Something I recommend is anytime you get a new material, cut it like a 2-inch by 2-inch square and just keep it. Mark what it is, but use that for testing.
Yeah.
When I did the fish bones mod for Corsair, I made the mistake of using, it was an insulation foam to kind of sculpt the head for fish bones, and I wrapped it in Worbla, but I didn't realize that when I hit it with spray paint, it would melt the pink insulation foam on the inside. So when I came in at 5 in the morning, instead of seeing a nice painted fishbone head, I saw a pink pile of goop on the floor. That mod had to ship in 3 hours. Yeah, so my recommendation is any new material you get, just get a little block so you can test it time to time. It's like, hey, will this bend? Some materials will not bend. Some metals, they just snap in half. They're not meant to be bent.
Yeah, I know ambient temperatures can affect that too. So do your research. You get if you're doing it in the garage, get a space heater or a fan. Try to get it to the temperature that it's meant for.
Yeah.
Also keep in mind there's 2 types of acrylic, extruded and cast. I prefer cast. I don't know about Hassan, he works with acrylic.
Yeah, we use mostly cast. Only extruded is our top layers, just because it comes in a thinner material, and we could do a cool little 3D effect like that.
Is the cast one, is that where it's got the paper backing normally? Or the
Yeah, usually it's paperback.
Yeah, like if you find acrylic and it's got like a paper coating on it to keep it from being scratched, that's also what I prefer to use. If you get it and it's got the film on it, it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. Another thing with acrylic is sometimes the thickness of the acrylic will vary. So if you are, designing something out and trying to be very precise of it, just get some calipers. Actually, calipers are probably like the best tool for modding. You're like, oh, I need to know the distance between these things. Get a pair of calipers. They're amazing.
Yeah, my strategy is use calipers and then measure everything out and then call him. That's what I do.
That works.
Yeah, because I got a laser cutter, a few of them, so I can make them fast.
You also don't have to be super technical to use a laser cutter. There are services out there for it, or you can just like go to the makerspace and do a little course on how to use it. And a lot of people are like, oh, you need to know CAD to do it and stuff. I have an old version of Photoshop Illustrator that I draw up my cases in, literally just like boxes and circles, and then I cut it off of that. So you don't have to be, super techie to be able to use a laser cutter. It was like, oh, I need a circle that's, I think it was 110 millimeters for 120 millimeter fan. Make a circle, cut it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have the excuse that they don't have the equipment to be able to do some of the crazier stuff, but it's really more of a design skill. So if you could learn CAD or the 2D drawings like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator, you can usually just outsource that pretty easily. Even locally, there's like laser trophy shops and what have you, and it's usually pretty cheap if you have the design part done, because that's what really takes a skill and the time.
Yeah.
As long as you can draw stick figures, you can mod.
I can't even draw a stick figure.
He can still mod. So one quick thing about the design. There's a program called Fusion 360 from Autodesk. It is free, I think, as long as you make less than $100,000 a year. I know I make well underneath that, so it is free to me.
Or if you're a student, right?
Yeah, or you're a student. Make student for up to 2 years. But that program, it's pretty easy to learn, and you can do 2D and 3D, and it'll actually export to 3D printers, lasers, and CNC machines. CNC machines are a little tougher because you have to tell what tools to use, but I'm pretty sure if you sent Hassan a file that had everything that you wanted to him, he'd be really happy because he wouldn't have to do it himself. Keep in mind, you do have to have your measurements right.
Measure twice, cut once.
I like to say measure 5 times, cut 3 or 4.
That's more true than I want it to be.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Alright, I know you guys aren't really targeted towards people like Mac users, laptop users, people who have the computer under their desk instead of on top. Like, how do you guys kind of portray yourself out there? How do you get yourself known?
If you're a Mac user?
You guys.
How did we get where we are?
Okay, so how do we showcase our work? You can find our stuff on different builder forums, on social media. We come out to events like this, BYOCs, LAN parties.
Yeah, if you're a modder and you're trying to get out there or trying to get known or anything, my goal when I got into this was I like playing with hardware and I don't want to have to pay for it. So if I can get to the point that someone will sponsor me and pay or just give me hardware, that was my dream. And I've finally gotten that kind of. But like the way I got into it, the way Hassan got into it is we went to QuakeCon and we entered the modding competition and we met Matt at a modding competition in San Antonio.
I don't think I've ever reached out and asked for hardware. I think they all came to me, and that was just because by doing it as a passion and making something beautiful that a lot of people reacted to one mod contest and influenced a lot of people. That kind of just happened. So I don't think the approach is to hit up everybody, say this is what I think I can do. Can you send me parts? I would say try to do something first. Don't have to use expensive hardware. It's mostly just time and skills that you have to do, and then bring it around, show people, and
you can put all your stuff out there on different build logs, overclock.net, LinusTechTips. There's entire forums just dedicated to modding. And if you want to see other people's stuff or get ideas, that's totally where to go. And if you want to try and, make a public name for yourself, post your build logs. And the build logs can be as simple as, some people are just like, I want to document me water cooling it, and I bought, the starter kit. Or people do like vertical GPU mods, or people do, I want to fit 7 graphics cards in a case. And all sorts of ridiculous stuff, but you just go out there, people are doing it, and if they're not doing it, then go do it yourself.
I think it's about, if you want to get your name out there, it's more about offering how-tos and showing people how to do different things that they might not know how to do. Even if it's something that you think is easy or simple to you, it might not be that simple to somebody else. So if you can take pictures, write up guides, or take video. I mean, that's how I built my YouTube, was essentially just finding things that I knew how to do that other people hadn't talked about or didn't know how to do, and then just made a video about it. And that's the best way, is offering value back to the community. So
I have a friend named Diatech Mods who actually started a YouTube channel pretty recently. He was already at 12K subscribers. The way he did that was he was trying to figure out, okay, what does he not know that he wants to know? And he would figure it out and then show it to everybody. So if he couldn't find how to do something, he would try to figure it out himself and then showcase that to people on YouTube. And turns out other people are interested in figuring that out too. And he grew very quickly.
A lot of it's just being social in a good way. You don't want to be in a scandal type thing. It happens, but no, just be social, just be nice. I mean, like the way I got where I am now is I was just nice. Sometimes you get to have a few drinks. Works out. But no, overall, if you're just a positive person, people will come to you, and it's great. Most of my friends, like I can always say, if I looked at my Facebook friends list, most of my friends are people I've never met, but I know very well just because the community grows. And that's one thing, is just the community is pretty welcoming. And don't stick to one community. Like I said in the beginning, cosplay is very close to case modding, like just a different canvas. So for me, I've kind of branched out. I have a lot of cosplay friends now too, because of stuff I do with computer modding. Just stuff like that, that's how you can grow really quickly in this industry. I mean, Hassan's only been in industries for what?
A couple years, 3 or 4 years. We have almost 100,000 followers on social media. I would say as a marketer, it's getting more and more expensive to do paid marketing and easier to get free marketing. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's never been easier to showcase your work. There's so many forums and so many outlets. And then in terms of bringing value, there's a guy that I like to watch called Guy Kawasaki. He has a graph where it talks about in the bottom left corner of that graph, you're going by value and uniqueness. The bottom left would be you're not unique or valuable. The top left is you have no value, but you're very unique. That's where you're just plain stupid. And the bottom right, you are valuable, but not unique. So here you have to compete for attention. And the top right, you're unique and valuable. So this is where you're coming up with new ideas, showcasing new stuff. This is where you can grow very fast.
You're in the back.
Back right.
With all the new all-in-one coolers and the aesthetics that they bring, is there a way to, let's say, take a crack at a 6.2 water block and modify your R2 radiator?
There is.
To an extent.
But you have to be very careful because most of those are aluminum based.
Yeah.
And if you mix aluminum and copper, you get a cluster flux. That is a play on words and cannot be censored. So when you mix certain metals, you get certain reactions. Aluminum and copper do not like each other at all.
They will corrode quite badly.
It looks like someone shot a snot rocket inside your loop, and it'll actually ruin your components.
So in general, there are expandable all-in-one liquid coolers. That is a thing. But generally, when you're in the custom water cooling scene, you either want to go purely aluminum or purely copper. And traditionally, that whole industry has been the copper or copper with nickel plating. The fittings themselves are normally brass. You can actually look up on the internet galvanic corrosion charts, and you can see that those metals are very close to each other, which means they're either going to corrode very little or they're going to corrode not really at all, especially if you have some kind of inhibitors. Aluminum is very far from that. So if you have aluminum and you're mixing it with brass, copper, or nickel, they're going to corrode to the point that one metal is going to leave itself and go to the other metal, which means you will eventually have leaks. You're basically creating a battery. So if you find one of the all-in-one liquid coolers where everything's copper, you know that you can use other copper parts or brass fittings. Some of them actually are threaded, so you can actually like unscrew the fitting, screw your own fittings in. In that case, you can totally do rigid tubing and all of that stuff. A lot of them will just have a barb that's attached to it. And if you can pull the tubing off, theoretically, you can put another piece of tubing on that barb, but you won't have the flexibility that fittings bring you. But that is a thing. I've seen a lot of people who will do JP Modified is actually someone that I watch a lot on YouTube. He quite often will open all-in-one liquid coolers and change the tubing out, sometimes add stuff to them, and with coolants that you can get that are supposed to be anti-corrosive, you can do some pretty cool things with it. So to an extent, look around. I don't think the Kraken is very
It's not
helpful.
It's pretty close loop. If you want a safer solution, EK water blocks, their fluid gaming line is much safer and a lot more expandable. Everything in there is aluminum. It actually almost feels fake whenever you pick up the block.
So light.
Yeah, they don't weigh anything compared to copper, where if you drop copper on your foot, you're gonna need a new toe. If you do it with aluminum, you might actually damage the block because they just don't weigh anything. So that's one thing. If you ever pick up the box, there's stuff in there. It's not empty. It just doesn't weigh anything.
I know Fractal Design makes some expandable all-in-one liquid coolers. I believe Alpha Cool does.
There's a SwiftTech one in the EVGA build that I did over there. I actually switched it from the soft clear tubing that it comes with to a rigid nickel-plated copper. And I used just, I believe, Primo Chill fittings to make that work. But they actually include dyes in their kit, and the block is RGB, and it has a pump mounted straight to the radiator. So it's a pretty cool system by SwiftTech. But in terms of modding like the AIOs, if you mask off the radiator fins, you can paint the outside. I've actually painted a Corsair H100 V2, I believe. I painted the tubing blue using the Rust-Oleum 2-in-1. Just had to do a couple coats of it, and then it actually worked. For the block, you can create like a custom, say, frosted clear acrylic circle to change the logo or the design on the pump. But it's usually a matter of just masking the right things off and using whatever paint and vinyl to design your custom AIO.
Yeah, just look on the spec sheet of whatever you get. Sometimes they'll say they're expandable, and a lot of the times they'll say what materials are in them. And if you see one that says like aluminum radiator and copper block, you might...
Most of them are actually all copper for the most part.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. It just depends on the cost, who they're getting it from. But do your research.
Yeah, if you go with EK had an all-in-one setup for a while, and EK is known for making custom water cooling components. Same thing with SwiftTech and AlphaCool. They have all-in-ones that are designed to be expandable. Mm-hmm. They're not quite as pretty as the Kraken, in my opinion, but those are also options. Something else I actually wanted to say real quick, we'll go into another question. Cosplaying overlay with it. Yeah. If you actually go down to the BYOC, there is a computer down there that is Bastion from Overwatch. That's actually a computer that's made by Pierce. He took it to QuakeCon and stuff. He hangs out at the makerspace in Dallas all the time and makes a bunch of cosplay stuff with his friends, and basically took that skill set and made a tank and then put a computer in it. So cosplay and modding, literally, that's his build, and it's phenomenal. Definitely check it out. It's
So I had one question brought to me by the PAX Enforcer. Somebody wanted to know how would you do like a lava lamp themed water cooling thing with different densities of fluid. There's a cool one right now called Premature View. I know there's some other ones. There's like a Galaxy mod guy on UFO, and Mayhem's Aurora. Those are usually pretty cool looking in the system. I know some of them don't last as long as others, and they can discolor and whatnot.
Yeah, you need to do all the prep.
Yeah, but they don't affect temperatures too much, and they look pretty awesome. I don't know if it's exactly a lava lamp effect. If you wanted to put a lava lamp in your PC and power it, you can run tubing maybe behind it to make it look like it's incorporated. But
you could probably mix mineral oil and water. I mean, technically, they're
no, I don't
mixed.
think so.
I don't know.
Not mineral oil.
Right? You wouldn't.
No.
It's not. If you did, it's like I'm going to show the system once, and that's it.
Yeah, that'll clog your pump pretty quick. Don't use mineral oil. Just distilled water and maybe some additives with different concentrates like the Aurora.
A lot of the new water blocks have really thin microchannels. Any debris will get stuck in there, and when you block the passage, that's when heat will build and components fail.
Yeah.
You can do some fake stuff though, like the fish tank. People were asking me how I had fish in my water cooling loop. I didn't. It was 2 loops. One was a fish tank filter. One was an actual pump for my coolant stuff. So you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen someone. I think it was on Linus recently. They did a M&M reservoir type thing, but they just had the tube going through it, so it looked like it was part of it, and they just had some water in there, but it wasn't. So you could do some cool art stuff and make it an illusion. I think we're going to take one more question because we have about 10 minutes. I'll let somebody else pick this guy.
Go for it.
I didn't see who raised their hand.
You in the back, because we don't pick the back enough. Yes, you with the eyebrows.
So, how important would you say that cable management is to overall PC modding and just PC building in general? And do you have any actual tips as to how to improve your cable management skills? I just have a rat's nest behind me.
So with a lot of the new cases coming out that are all tempered glass, it can make or break it. The mod.
It's everything.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen builds that they look phenomenal, but then the cable management just wasn't there. Like it looked like they just threw the cables in the night before, and it kept them from placing. They could have gotten 3rd or 1st place, and because of that one detail, it just ruined the look of the case. I mean, honestly, my tip for the way I do it, I do all the cables that come with the case first, and then the cables that go to the components.
My opinion on it is, if you have a rat's nest, just hide it. Like, if you have a way in your mod to hide that and make all of the cables that are visible, that's also a thing. The fish tank computer was a rat's nest in the bottom, but no one could see the bottom because everyone was staring at the fish tank above it. So it was literally like a black box with radiators and power supply and stuff, and it took me 10 minutes to try and plug in an Xbox controller into it because I had to reach into the bottom of the case and just wiggle through cables. No one saw it, so it was great. So if you have a power supply shroud or something, just make sure whatever is visible looks nice and hide anything that doesn't look good. I've never been to a competition where they've opened the computer up to look at stuff that was hidden.
For maintenance, it is nice to have good cable management, though, and a lot of people do appreciate it. I would just say use as little cables as you possibly can. So
that's also good.
Anything that's Molex, just try to get an adapter to go to SATA and only use SATA. If you're doing your own sleeving, you can do it 1-to-1, where it's directly from PSU to your thing, so you have very perfect cable lengths. But normally that's not the case. We make these cable combs in a variety of colors on our site. We also have these adhesive back cable clips that you can plug into the back of your motherboard tray or stick them wherever and then run the cables underneath them and just click it. So it'll help keep it tight. That way you get your back panel on, because I know that's a pain.
Lots of zip ties.
Lots of zip ties.
Lots of zip ties.
I just jump on it until it's...
I used to get 3 friends to close your side panel.
Throw my case face down on my bed and
Yeah.
just press the cable down, and then I just needed one thread to catch. That was it. That was before I started doing this. And locally sourced, gluten-free, organic copper.
That's the good stuff right there.
Yeah.
I guess that was a pretty quick one.
Yeah.
So we could do another. Gentleman right here.
Perfectly timed.
Just first a quick comment. They're talking about your subject about crossover. I work a lot with biomedical engineers and the medical device industry. A lot of the stuff you talk about, like acrylics, metals, etc., they have to go through all that too. So it's a very crossover set of skills. Quick question then. What's the most difficult or challenging mod you've ever had to do, successful or not, whether it's physical challenge or getting the right?
You want to start us off, Hassan?
Yeah, sure. So I would say the most difficult and creative parts of a build that I usually do are some of the best parts of them, and then they're worth doing. So there was a build I did for ASUS's 20th anniversary where I had to do a loop that spelled the number 20 out of PETG. The way I did that was I had to use a silicone insert to put it through the whole thing, but I had to use a really long tube, and I have a strip heater. So I had to put it over this really long strip heater because you can't just use a heat gun in one location and get that really hot. And then you have to really plan out how you're going to bend it. So I had to make a jig for a circle, which I just kind of used a tape roll. And then the 20 or the 2, I just kind of had to freehand do that. And it took a couple tries, but once it's in there, it was pretty cool. Another one I would say is probably the Alienware mod. That one was engraved like crazy, but a lot of it was kind of like brute force modding, where you just kind of like, you have to go for it, and sometimes it doesn't work, but that usually leads to figuring out a cooler idea that will work and be more functional in the end. And I would say those are my 2 top.
Powering 12 GPUs and getting all the power supplies to get that done. I mean, going with server power supplies now and breakout boards is pretty cool, and you got to install 220. So that was a challenge, trying to get all that running in my house in Texas in the summer, and then figuring out cooling and AC and all of that. So that's probably my most difficult recently.
My most recent one was probably I ran 3 graphics cards off an ITX board. ITX boards are known to only have one 16x slot. Well, there's a bunch of really niche technologies out there. PCI Express bifurcation, I had to order a riser cable from a server company and then get on Amazon and find some really weird adapters to turn an M.2 slot into a PCI Express slot, and then another one to make it turn in a 90-degree angle. And then I made that entire computer fit in a 3-inch area. The whole case was just super narrow and really long. And then when I got to doing the cable management and the water cooling, the only place in the case that I could go from the bottom of the case to the top of the case was actually between the radiators. So I literally had like a fan, and then the 2 ran between them. So figuring all of that out was lots of taking the parts and laying them out on a table and trying to figure out the puzzle of just where to put everything. But there's a lot of really weird parts out there that you can find by just going to the dark places of weird forums for computers.
Didn't you also have a monitor attached to that case?
I had 3 monitors on that case. Yeah. 2 were actually mounted on arms to the case, and then 1 was actually mounted to try and make the back of the motherboard look better. 'Cause motherboard and then the graphics cards were all in a line. And to keep from just seeing like a big blank area, I put a little tiny monitor there. But yeah, trying to get the whole thing in 3-inch thick and then water cool everything was a bit of a challenge. But if you have parts, which I've also started like collecting parts from people that are dead, that way I can like set them on a table and just be like, hey look, this motherboard and this power supply, if I put them like this, fit like this. And you know, dead graphics cards are actually surprisingly easy to get, and people throw out computers or whatever, and you're just like, hey, can I have the motherboard from that or whatever? And you're like, sure. And then you literally could just lay them out on a table, tape it out, be like, this is the area I think I want to work in, and then try and play puzzle pieces to try and get everything to fit. But yeah, that was my more difficult one that I've done recently.
Mine, I can't say what the project is. It's a project for NVIDIA.
The CIA.
Yeah, I can't say what it is yet, but I can say it is a completely 3D printed case, and it has 18 pounds of 3D printing filament in it. It is the biggest case I've ever made. They have actually said it's one of the bigger cases I ever had made for them, and it has made me cry like a little girl many, many times, many nights, trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. Or it just made me cry like when I was a small kid being chased by my mother with a chancla. But yeah, that is the one build. When you have to do scratch build, you don't have a canvas. I mean, you get to make your canvas, it's the cool part, but there's an there's an MITx board in this thing, and it measures 26 inches by 26 inches by 26 inches. It's just the way that the build ended up. If I tried to use anything bigger, it just would have been a complete monster. I had to invest in a bigger 3D printer because of it, because we tried using a smaller one and piecing all the pieces together. You learn very quickly 3D printer is not perfectly flat. Pieces are warped. Sometimes you have nice gaps when you're trying to get pieces together. I had more hair before this project started, but I know that project will be soon completed. And video will happen, then you'll see a video on that shortly. The other one that I was dumb for even attempting, because I didn't have the right tools. That's another important thing. Make sure you have the right tools for the job. Do not try to jerry-rig anything. It just backfires and costs you more money in the end. I tried to make my own carbon fiber panels. And I got like 90% way through this case, and I installed the components, and it just went, wah. I didn't make the carbon fiber panels thick enough, so they couldn't actually hold up to the weight of the PC components. And I had to I just grabbed a chunk of acrylic and stuck it in so it would actually hold it up. And I took it to a show.
If you want to do more exotic materials and you don't have the way to do it, you can also buy vinyl and wrap things. That's a really easy way to do it. So you can make your case out of wood. Well, wood's probably not the best for that, but acrylic. And you can actually get vinyl of wood or vinyl of, brushed aluminum or vinyl of carbon fiber. And you can just coat your pieces and be like, oh, look, my computer's made of carbon fiber. It's actually acrylic, but it looks like carbon fiber.
Hydro dipping is also another great solution for that.
Hydro dipping's cool. And you can get the stuff to do hydro dipping just off the internet. My brother's gotten into hydro dipping, and he took one of his guns apart, and he's like, I want a camo gun. So he took the stock off it and dipped it. And the project I'm working on, I'm going to take the CPU block apart and get a transparent snakeskin pattern and dip the CPU block so it'll be gold with scales on it. And all that stuff's just like Amazon. He just does it in a big container bucket thing. And yeah, Amazon's great for you.
Okay, so before we go, you want to plug your stuff?
So, Joe Mercado, I'm Sanctum Studios, can be found on Instagram under Sanctum Studios. My Facebook is still Sanctum Sleeving, but it'll be changed to Sanctum Studios here soon.
Cameron Watkins, I don't have a great, YouTube channel or anything, but you can find me on several different forums as the Arkratos or Arkratos. Same with Twitter, I'm the Arkratos. And Facebook, it's CWE cases, because when I got into it, I was just making scratch acrylic computer cases. So that's where I have all of that stuff. So probably will change the name on that. But
Son of a Tech. Just Google it, it'll come up. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that cool stuff. You can come check out cryptocurrency mining if you guys are interested in that, etc. I also do various mods when I get a chance.
Also, again, for Son of a Tech, he's got a series going right now called Mining Rig Wars. And it's pretty interesting to see what people have done to try and put 12 GPUs in a system and then make it look good.
It's an abomination mostly. But it's fun to look
You
at.
had one guy do it in a filing cabinet.
Yeah, one guy did it in a filing cabinet at work to hide it from his job, I think, so he could use their power.
But yeah, there's some pretty interesting things I've done where, a lot of mods are done for visuals and a lot of mods are done for practicality. So if you want to see some of those practical, absurd rigs.
Yeah, you'll get more of the ideas for power consumption requirements, etc. on hardware and more that kind of technical side.
And then I'm at V1Tech for everything, v1tech.com and all the social media. If you want to check out how to do how to make cool PC mods or just watch me do it, go to the YouTube channel. Later today for PAX, we're actually doing a $100 giveaway to our store at v1tech.com. So if you guys want to get your phones out and subscribe to our Instagram, Snapchat, all that jazz, you should probably do it.
Thank you guys for coming out. You have a great PAX 2018.
I lost my phone. Like literally. She has an iPhone and you have a Sony? Yeah. I'll see how this relationship turns out.